The Sisters of Battle are a magnificent sight, for these daughters of the Emperor bring light to the darkness of this grim life. They are the best of humanity, on true display. And lo, such are the foul lies spouted by the foolish and dishonest both. For these sororitas are not bringers of life and love, they are anything but. They are the foulest monsters that our damned race can produce. They are the most tainted poison enrobed by a falsehood of decadence. They are the most evil of human demons, cloaked with the face of a beautiful angel. For you are wrong about the Sisters of Battle. They are not saviors. They are not divine angels. They are evil. So before I could get into this proper, little bit of addressment time. Why on earth am I saying this? And I know that the jitter amongst you will come out and say, Bradley, this is Warhammer 40k, everyone sucks, everyone's evil, I don't know what you're on about. And to you, yeah, fair enough, I get that, I'm not disputing that. But the main purpose of this video is to explain two very important misconceptions that people absolutely get wrong about the Adeptus Sororitas. And it completely changes the whole dynamic of them and what they're supposed to represent. The first one is caused simply by an overrepresentation of one form of them, and the second half is kind of GW's fault, a little bit. Well, it's a mixture of the community and GW, but I'll get to that when I get to that. But ultimately, the point of this is not to say that one faction is super great and one is super bad. The point of this is to show you that we are really wrong when it comes to the Sisters of Battle specifically. And by the end of this video, I think you'll agree with me that they are indeed the most evil faction in the Imperium, and possibly the most tragic. And that's the thing about the Sisters of Battle specifically, because fun fact, people think that the Sisters of Battle and the Adeptus Sororitas are the same thing. That is actually false. The Adepta Sororitas is an organization that composes of all of the orders of the Adepta, the orders being specifically those created by the ecclesiarchy to be part of their wing. There are many different sister orders, and these orders can be divided into four main categories. 1. Ordo Majoris and Ordo Minoris, major orders and minors respectively, and of the Ordo Majoris, the Ordos Militant, the militant orders, aka the actual Sisters of Battle, and the non-militant orders. Because ladies and gentlemen, a lot of Sisters of Battle, a good chunk of them, most of them in fact, are not warriors. They're not Templars, they're not warriors in service to the ecclesiarchy. They are just nuns. And they operate in many different ways, forms, and varieties. So when you say Sisters of Battle, you're specifically referring to the 6 major militant ordos, aka the ones that you get to play on the tabletop. And that's why the tabletop faction is called the Sisters of Battle, because it's the Sisters of Battle that you're playing. If you were to play the entirety of the Adeptus Sororitas, it would include all the non-major militant orders. For those of you wondering, the 6 main major orders are the Order of the Bloody Rose, the Order of Our Martyred Lady, the Order of the Valorous Heart, the Order of the Sacred Rose, the Order of the Ebon Chalice, and the Order of the Argent Shroud. Each one of these was founded by Alicia Dominica and her 5 best friends. So who's Alicia Dominica, I hear you asking? TLDR time. During the 36th millennium, there was this guy, Doge Van Dyer. Very bad chap, like really bad. And not bad by our standards, bad by Imperium standards, so yeah, he's not a good guy. So, he managed to become Lord of the Assassinorum, as well as High Ecclesiarch, which was very illegal, mind you, and he essentially created a dictatorship in the Imperium, and he did anything he wanted. During this time, he would go to a planet that would have a unique coven of very zealous and faithful sisters, known as the Daughters of the Emperor. He would then prove it to him that he was blessed by the Emperor by the use of very high-tech important technology. By the way, this planet was said to be roughly in the 16th/17th century, so yeah, he definitely cheated. From there, he would name them the Brides of the Emperor, and do various things with them. Fun fact, the reason why the Sisters of Battle don't have a vow of chastity is because Doge wanted to use them in that regard. Yes, he is indeed that guy. Hell Lord King Reddita, I suppose. But basically, this caused a massive civil war in the Imperium, and Alicia Dominica would be escorted by custodians to go and meet the Emperor. After meeting the literal Emperor, she and her 5 other best friends would go and then murder Doge. From there, each one of them would go on to die a terrible, bloody, and violent death, thus founding a specific order. And lo and behold, we have the Ordos Militant, the Sisters of Battle of the Adeptus Sororitas. And the Sisters of Battle are unique because they are led by a High Abbess, aka Morven Vol, aka High Lord of Terror. From there are 2 main covenesses, that being those who govern the 2 main covens. The Coven Prioris, one being on Terra, and the Coven Sanctorum, the other being on Ophelia 7. From there, those covens are divided into different orders. Each ordo, being a majoris or a minoris, is led by a Canis Superior, and that is divided into several preceptories led by Canis Preceptor, which has about like 1,000 sisters, generally speaking. That preceptory is made up of 5 commendaries, each consisting of about 200 sisters, that led by a Canonist Commander. You see a pattern here? But the most common that we will normally get is the mission. The mission can be anywhere from like 20 to like 50, maybe even like 100 sisters. And these are sprouted everywhere, and they seem to be led by a canonist, or in some cases a lesser palatine, that being a veteran sister. And here's the thing, most sisters are the non-militant orders, a la the Ordo Hospitaler, aka medics, the Ordo Dialogus, scholars dealing with languages, and the Ordo Familius, diplomats, chamberlains, and basically advisors for imperial noble families. And that is what people's main interaction with the Sisters of Battle are, these sisters. Normal people, nuns, doing nun things. Very few people actually meet the actual Sisters of Battle, that being the militant orders. And here is when the divide comes into place. There is a stark difference between the Ordo Militant and the non-Ordos Militant. A Sister Hospitalis, Dialogus, or Familius is that idyllic, angelic visage that we think of when we think of a sister. Now, not all of them, mind you. 9 out of them are going to be that beautiful angel. One of them, though, they're going to be a little fucked up, not gonna lie. But the fact is, the majority of the non-militant orders are normal people. Yeah, they're pretty faithful, like they like a good prayer and all that. But they're not crazy like the Orders Militant, because they're not trained to fight. They don't get power armor, they don't get bolters, they don't get flamers, and they don't get all the bullshit that comes with the Orders Militant, which we'll talk about in a second. They are normal nuns. And that is most people's depiction of the Adeptus Sororitas. In conjunction with Imperial propaganda, which of course they would never depict them as bad, most people think that they're just nice people. But again, that's only one half of them. And that's kind of where we seem to have faltered a little bit. We all know that the Imperium can do some bad stuff, right? But we don't know how bad it can be. And the Sisters of Battle are a special type of bad. Because when it comes to the Ordos Militant, there is something that a lot of people seem to forget. The Ordos Militant are children taken directly from the Schola Progemium, orphans trained, raised from a young age to be vicious combat machines. They are then taken, placed in an institution which for over 10,000 years has spouted blind, utter faith. Anything other than blind faith is evil and must be destroyed. They are then told that this here priest, this here abbot, this here whoever the hell, is the voice of the literal God of humanity. Whatever he says goes. You are meant to follow his will. So now all of a sudden, we have up to 1,000 crazed, battle-hardened, drilled nuns who have been indoctrinated from near birth, clad in power armor, bolters, flamers, tanks, and basically some of the most advanced technology we have. And they are supposed to follow whatever this one dude says from an inherently corrupt and bullshit organization, and they believe that his words are the words of God. If you're not picking up what I'm putting down, it's this. The Sisters of Battle will do anything that the Imperium wants, because they believe that if it comes from the Ecclesiarchy, it comes from the Emperor. And when I say anything, I mean anything. Now at this point you won't be saying, okay Brad, I get like they can do a lot of bad, a lot of evil stuff, but come on, this is Warhammer 40k. Surely they're nothing when you compare it to everyone else. And that's another issue that we come to. In 40k we're surrounded by so much literal evil. The Dark Eldar are literally evil. They are the most evil faction. They torture purely for the pleasure and the sustenance that it provides. Slaanesh is pure evil. The Chaos Guards are pure evil. Slaanesh in particular is debauchement, debasement, corruption in its purest and wholest form. The idea that evil is a force corruptive has been established in mythos since time immemorial. And in the West, it was made most famous by Mr. J.R.R. Tolkien, who created his amazing work, The Lord of the Rings, as well as the world of Arda and everything around it. And a core concept of his work is that evil cannot create, it can only corrupt. Thus, evil as a corruptive force always has been and always will be a thing. If Slaanesh and the Dark Eldar are inherently like that, yes, they have been corrupted, but they've been corrupted for thousands of years, even more than that at this point. It's not like there are more and more and more Dark Elder constantly being corrupted. It's not like there's a plague or an epidemic. Oh, it's Slanesh. It's humanity that gets corrupted more often than not. But that's the thing, we know that this is wrong. Demons popping out of nowhere screaming and baying for flesh, immediately any sane normal person will call that wrong. But with the Sisters of Battle, we don't see the evil that they are, because as I said earlier in the intro, there's a beautiful mask in front of it. Humanity can accomplish a great many things. We made it to the moon, and we have done things and showed things that are just beyond what our situation demands. A good example of that is being the Christmas truce of World War I, where men who had been fighting each other, trying to kill each other for months, managed to be friends for but a few solemn days in winter. We're capable of amazing things, humanity. But also in the same vein, we're capable of terrible, terrible evil. Such as Harold Shipman. Harold Shipman, known as Dr. Death, is believed to have killed an estimated 250 patients somewhere in the Manchester area of England between 1972 and 1998. The only reason that he was caught is because people start getting a little worried, hey, why is this guy's name on all these death certificates so much? Until finally, it wouldn't be the police that caught him, but rather his own greed. He would try and make a will for one of his victims, alleging that he would be the beneficiary of said will. The police were able to latch onto this, find proof, and convict him. He would later commit suicide while in prison in the year 2004. But that was someone who was supposed to be a doctor, a healer, someone who was meant to give life, and instead, he took life. 250 people were robbed of their place on this earth because of his evil. And that's not even him being motivated by fate, that was just him for whatever reason. But when fate is involved, human beings can take it much, much farther. A prime example is the ancient and archaic, and thankfully lost, Hindu act of sati. Sati is an ancient Hindu religious act that states when a husband passed, it is the wife's duty to join him on the death pyre. Hindus normally die by cremation as their preferred method, so the wife, still very much living and alive, would sit with her husband's dead body on the pyre and be burnt alive. The practice is named after the Hindu goddess Sati, who, according to the legends and mythos, is believed to have self-immolated because she was unable to bear her father, Daksha's sheer and utter contempt and humiliation of the marriage between her and her husband Shiva, one of the chief gods in Indian Hindu mythology. And to all my Indian folks watching, I know myself. There have been many an Indian woman dragged to her death kicking and screaming because of some archaic old tradition. But the sad reality is that for each one who was dragged kicking and screaming, there was one who was brainwashed into walking willingly. Oh, because that is what faith told them to do. There's a reason that in some Sanskrit texts, the term sati is synonymous with good wife. These examples are a few that I've given, because I want to really hone in on this point. Humanity, in our modern day and age, is capable of terrible, terrible things, even more so when we're motivated by fate. The most common in my generation would be certain acts committed by certain extremely radical, hyper-radical religious groups in various acts of devastation across the world. I can't say exactly what and get into too much detail because YouTube will get very angry, but if you were born in the last 30 years, you know what I'm talking about. And when you consider the evil that's done in our modern day world, with our modern day things and our modern day ideals and our modern day morals, because say what you will about our world and our morals, we're still pretty good. We're still pretty tame. But you compare to what Warhammer 40k is, the level of debauched, debased, crazy insanity that they are willing to unleash, and then you take the tools in which they have, that being thousands, tens of thousands of elite, powered armored women armed with weapons of destruction. You have oil and you have gasoline, and the spark of it is the flame of faith, saying that whatever the Imperium mentions is truth from the god himself, and lo, you have a conflagration that would engulf humanity. But I believe I've given enough background here, so now I can get into actual examples. The first one that I will use is one that many religious people are quite familiar with, and that is guilt. In the Sisters of Battle specifically, we see time and time again that if a sister ever experiences any type of doubt or anything like that, something that is healthy and common, they are immediately hit with guilt. They are punished for thinking anything other than what the Emperor would say. What the Emperor writes is truth. The Imperium preaches total and utter blind obedience. Anything other than that and you are wrong. A prime example is the case of the Repentia. If a sister commits any type of infraction, and this could be literally anything from an actual punishable infraction to something as crazy as her not praying properly, she will be then told that it is her duty to charge with no armor into the jaws of guns and death, and if she lives, it's the Emperor's will. The evil of the sororitas in this act is that they take the idea of logic, of reason, and they throw it out the window. Instead, they take chance, happenstance, and what if, and they wrap it in the guise of true prominence, divine intervention. Nothing is an accident. It's all divine intervention. If the Emperor wanted to save them, he would. Again and again and again, time and time and time again. We see the sororitas do things that are utterly hypocritical, but they will justify it because some type of higher ecclesiarchy member told them that it's okay. Because they will simply take the same thing and flip it on its head. We need to save these pilgrims because the Emperor demands it. The sororitas will gladly save the pilgrims. They'll save the artifacts, they'll save everything. But then, lo and behold, the ecclesiarchy dude has to dip because the Imperium is not winning back this planet, and he wants to get the hell out of Dodge. Look, sororitas, look how the tide of battle turns against us. These people are evil. The Emperor has forsaken them. Come, let us go now and leave this planet. It is the Emperor's will. And like that, the sororitas will up and dip. Yes, more than not, you will have a few who will be like, hold on, this is bullshit. But those are either beaten into submission or outright killed. Remember, the sororitas are a purely ecclesiastical force. They have full jurisdiction to do whatever they want to their members in accordance with ecclesiarchy law. And ecclesiarchy law is brutal. Beyond brutal. Another thing that they do is that they take the emotion, the raw, unbridled emotion that is common amongst all sororitas, that zealotry emotion caused by faith, and they don't temper it. They will then rouse it again and again and again, burn, burn, burn. They will make all the negative feelings that the sororitas has for her life or whatever it may be, and they will redirect it to the hatred of the arch heretic. Everything that's gone wrong in your life, it's the enemy's fault. It's their fault. Anyone who helps them is wrong. It then turns them from someone who's supposed to understand logic and reason and twists it into pure emotion. It's manipulation at its finest work. And we have a perfect example taken from Fire and Faith, where here we get to see the true unreasonable rage of the Orders of Sisters. "Where is he?" growled Miria, lifting the man off the deck. Finton licked his lips. Sister, please! Oh, what have I done to displease the sororitas?" "Search this tier!" she shouted over her shoulder. "Leave no compartment unchecked. Vent the atmosphere if you have to." "No, please! Sister, what?" Miria let him drop to the deck and kicked him hard in the gut. "Don't play games with me, worm. You measure your life in ticks of the clock." The Sister Superior carefully placed her armored boot on Finton's right leg and then broke it. Behind her, Sister Isabel directed the other women to their tasks. They began a search of the bridge's control pits, pushing her way past doldering servitors and aged cogitator panels. "As before, there is nothing." "Keep searching!" Miria presented her plasma pistol to Finton's face, the neon glow of energy coils atop it washing him with pale illumination. "Where is Vaughn, little man? Answer me!" "Who?" The word was drawn out like a moan. "You're testing my patience!" snapped the Sister Superior. "Half your crew is already dead from resisting us. Unless you wish to join them, tell me where the heretic hides." In spite of his pain, Finton shook his head in confusion. "But no, we left the commerce station. You came after us, fired on us. Our communications were faulty." He waved feebly at the jury-rig console across the chamber. We couldn't reply." "Liar!" Miria's face twisted in anger as she released a shot from the plasma weapon, directly into a support stanchion near Flinton's head. The captain screamed and shoved himself away from the corona of hot white vapor, dragging his twisted leg behind him. Miria tracked him across the floor with the gun muzzle. Finton tried to make the sign of the Aquila. Please, don't kill me. It was just some smuggling. Nothing more. A few Tau artifacts, but that was months ago, and they were all fake anyway. I don't care about your petty crimes, maggot. I want Taurus Vaughn. The Corollas was the only interplanetary ship to leave Neva's orbital commerce platform. She bit out each word, as if she were explaining something to a particularly backward child, something that was causing her great anger. If Vaughn was not on the station, then here is the only place he could be. I don't know any Vaughn! Screamed Finton. Liar! The battle sister fired again, striking a dominant servitor, killing it instantly. Finton coiled up into a ball and began sobbing. No. Sister Superior, began Isabel, a warning tone in her voice. Miria did not choose to hear it. Instead, she knelt next to the freighter captain and let the hot metal of the plasma pistol hover near his face. The heat radiating from the muzzle was enough to sear his bare skin. For the last time, where have you hidden Taurus Vaughn? He's not here. Miria blinked and looked up. It was Isabel who had spoken. Vaughn was never aboard this vessel, Sister Miria. These cogitator records show the manifest. They are a match for the Dogmaster's datum for the Corollas. With much effort, Miria holstered her pistol and turned away, her head bowed and eyes distant. The boiling rage she displayed moments earlier had been drained away. Miria threw a cold glance at Finton, and then looked away. Turn this wreck over to the Inquisition. This crew are criminals, even if they are not the ones we seek. So to cause that little interaction a bit bloodthirsty is a bit much. And here's a prime example of what I said. The Sororitas claims to work on logic. The heretic they seek was aboard the station. This was the only ship that left the station, ergo he must be here. But this is false. It is a thin veil to gaze her true motivator. Raw, unbridled emotion. She is boiling with rage, overflowing at the mere idea that someone would help betray her. So, she chases the ship down, fires on it, kills half the crew, breaks the captain's leg, and causes him severe psychological torture that not even a therapist could fix. Assuming they have therapists in 40k, which, they might not, they probably don't, let's be honest. Every single thing that this sister did, she did purely because she thought, on pure, utter emotion. And here's the thing when it comes to sisters. When they believe something, it's not a question of, oh, this might be the case, let me check this out. It is ingrained in their belief system that this has to be it. This must be it. Because it's backed by the Emperor. If it's backed by the Emperor, it is faith. If it is faith, it is true. If it's true, it's right. If it's right, it's good. And with this, possibly hundreds if not thousands of men were killed for nothing. And the remainder were handed over to the Inquisition for fake, keyword fake, Tau artifacts. And they gave her to the Inquisition. Another thing that people may be mentioning is the Inquisition. Brad, hold on, isn't the Inquisition the most evil thing in 40k? Well, no, because the Inquisition is so incredibly diverse. One Inquisitor is completely different from another. You could have one, like Amberley Vale, aka Beskel, who is a prime example of what a good Inquisitor should be. Dutiful, and not fucking psychotic. Eisenhorn is another good example of a solid Inquisitor. But for all of those, you get a Cryptman, who killed entire star systems because, expediency. But with the Sisters of Battle, specifically the Ordos Militant, like I said, you may get one or two sisters who will think that this is bullshit, but they are either quickly tucked away, or they're executed. And sisters, they have no issue executing anyone if they believe that they serve the heretic, be they sisters or not. And when it comes to punishing the heretic, the Sisters of Battle are sadists, and I don't mean that in any type of hyperbolic sense. Some of them are literally sadistic. Most of them are. Taken from Redemption Corps. He was escorted straight to the colossal cloister decks of the Adeptus Sororitas, somewhere he'd never been before, and was told to wait outside Canis Xanthrax's personal chambers. Enter, came that burnished voice, its lightest touch commanding immediate obedience. Xanthrax. The canoness's personal chambers were a vaulted realm of devotion and shadow. Ancient artifacts adorned the walls. Relics of priceless Imperial history balanced on isolated plinths. Tapestries dangled from the dizzying ceiling instruments. The Order's innumerable wars of fate were on display. Creed's boots clacked across the flagstones of jet that shattered into a mosaic at the center of the chamber, depicting Saint Valeria the Younger and the 9 virgins of the Apocalypse. "My personal collection," Sanothax told the commissar as she joined him from the shadows. Krieg surveyed the canoness's collection of arch-heretics and iconoclasts. "I'm sure you've heard of the infamous Cardinal Crabble," Sanothax said as she passed an aged cleric in shredded, blood-soaked robes. He was hanging from the ceiling on a set of wicked hooks and chains that were embedded in his back flesh, from his scalp directly to his shins. His encrusted beard dangled towards a gently gathering pool of literal blood, sweat, and tears. The canoness pushed him gently as she passed, eliciting a desperate moan from the heretic, as she gently rocked and the hooks went to work on the fresh flesh. Next was a tubular plas tank full of thin liquid murk, a sloshing filth of blood-threaded puce. An oxygen pump beating rhythmically on one side of the tank fed something inside air through a corded metal pipe. "Zenobia Corridane, the butcheress of Banzai. The end of my predecessor. I promised that I would never be the end of her." The cadet commissar leaned in to get a better view through the effluence. A single palm thrashed out against the plas, causing Krieg to jump back. The hand was skinless and raw. Ligaments, veins, and in some places bone were all on show. It retracted as fast as it had happened. "Molecular acid. The weakest I could find. She'll slowly be dissolved over 1,000 years. Less than she deserves." The final abomination in the canoness's personal collection was simply a portrait, a Mercury doggerel type, the kind that was popular at the Guquinoc Gate, a funeral image of an angelic infant, a newborn, at rest in a tiny wicker coffin. Some kind of mystic mechanicus apparatus was affixed to the rear of the frame, emanating a headache-inducing hum and causing the antique capture to impossibly flicker and shimmer. The canoness leaned in close. "And him? Well, his name hasn't been spoken in a millennium, and I'll be damned before I'm the first one to let it pass my lips. I'll spare you a similar curse." The nailwood frame creaked ominously. "Oh, do be quiet." Sanothax spat at the haunting image. This, by the way, is a canoness, aka there's a good chance that she could lead up to 1,000 Sisters of Battle. I want you guys to be honest with me. If I had just said that whole thing and not mentioned who this was, how many of y'all would have thought that this would be some type of Dark Eldar? Because, you know, eternal suffering and tormenting and pain and all that. Sounds like the Dark Eldar, doesn't it? But nope. These are the nuns of the Imperial Church. Well, not the nuns, actually. These are the Sister Templars of the Church. And they are not like anything we've ever had. These are something completely different. Yet I remind you, of the 3 people there, one of them was indeed a heretic, fair enough. The other one might be a child, which is all types of fucked up, but the first was a preacher, an iconoclast. He was once a dude, part of them. And there have been plenty of accounts of other Adeptus Sororitas turning on other Sororitas, because what's right is right, and what's right is faith, aka whatever the Ecclesiarchy tells me. And the Ecclesiarchy can't be wrong, because that means the Emperor is wrong. Ooh boy. But then that brings me on to another point. Faith. Faith is a beautiful thing. Faith is something that I believe that all men need to live. But faith can easily be corrupted. It can be twisted, manipulated, changed, and broken. And in my opinion, the Sororitas have committed the cardinal mistake of when it comes to faith. Because there is a stark difference between faith and hope. Hope is the belief in something that can happen, hence why we can have hope in our fellow man. Faith, though, Faith is the belief in something that shouldn't happen, hence why we should only have faith in God. The Sororitas, though, they place their faith in mortal men. Granted, they're lied to and said that these mortal men are the voice of God, but still, when you treat the words of men like the words of God, you get this. Something terrible, something evil, something that spoils the very soul of humanity. The worst part about all this is that not all sisters are crazy like this. Not all of them are sadistic. Not all of them are full of rage. Some of them are good people, but they've just been brainwashed into believing that this is what the ecclesiarchy says, so this is what I'm going to do. And it doesn't matter who, what, when, where, or why talks to them about it. They're so deluded in their own fantasies that even that when you have something literally in front of you that should deny everything, you're just too stubborn to see it. Faith is an interesting thing. It's often born of goodness, but can be twisted, even if you don't know what you're doing. Taken from The Gate of Bones. Armored figures emerged from the archways of an administratum building. The gunmetal armor shimmered in the sunrise. Adeptus Sororitas, Order of the Argent Shroud. Here is a more hospitable welcome. 12 battle sisters came out onto the street. They were all battle-worn. They went helmed until they approached. When the leader revealed her face, and Alcor saw that her eyes shone with something close to rapture, they all removed their helmets, as if they wished to drink in the sight of the custodians, without the intervention of the auto-senses. One by one, the sisters of battle knelt, and bowed their heads with deep reverence. "Praise be!" they proclaimed. "Praise be!" Their leader stood. "Praise the Emperor for your arrival. I did not think to see so glorious a sight as you. O most holy lords, I give thanks that I have been borne witness to your glory in my time, and I stand in the presence of those who have stood in the presence of him on terra. Praise, praise, praise!"
Sister, hail and well met. We go to meet with your leaders. Our presence upon Galthamore is not yet known to the enemy, so we must go with some haste.
Over the squad vox, he heard Vakilian chuckle. Most custodians respected the faith of the Adeptus Sororitas, but Vakilian had never been able to take the religion of the Adeptus Ministerium too seriously. Of course. You bring hope to us all, and it should be shared. In my selfishness, I only seek to enjoy this moment for my own pleasure."
She'll be at the scouring bench later for that,
Vakilian said via a private channel. Alcanor held up a finger to silence his friend. "I see you have rescued one of the Emperor's martyrs. Oh, she is blessed. I will present her to the canoness, for such grace cannot be ignored."
Martyr? She lives.
"My lord, since the archenemy invaded, they have preyed upon soldiers and civilians without distinction. Whenever they turned their attention to the latter, we honor the sacrifice of these Imperial servants by making martyrs of them."
You allow them to draw the foe's attention, so that you may strike and eliminate them?
Said Vakilian, apprehending the implication immediately.
Could you not instead intercede and save these Imperial servants from the traitors?
"The Emperor saves those who save themselves, my lord. It is his will," she replied with a zealot's certainty.
Bones of old earth. 500 years experience of the cold fanaticism, and I will never get used to it,
Vakilian said privately. Alcanor muted his suit's vox emitter so he could speak with Vakilian.
If these warriors' faith helps them fight, I see value in it. How they choose to express that faith is no business of ours, unless it hampers our mission. To serve is all, but service is best done willingly. Enough. Any moment could bring forth the outcry of detection, and with it, the risk of failure. The seconds race. Hold your silence for the moment, said Alcanor, reopening his vox to the sister. Lead us to your canoness, but make no mistake, we are taking the woman with us. She will not be left here to die.
Emanuela looked confused. But of course. Why would I leave her here to die? Then she did something that surprised Alcohol greatly. She slung her bolt gun over her shoulder strap and went to Frasilla and held out her arms. Give it to me, so that I might ease your way and bear my sister in the faith.
Varsilian looked at Alcohol. Do as she says. We're wasting time.
Gently, Varsilian lowered the injured female. Emanuela took her and cradled her.
You would martyr her one moment, and rescue her the next.
This one will be honored above all others, said Emanuela, her tone communicating that she felt this self-evident. She witnessed the arrival of the Emperor's custodians. You, my holy lords, you have blessed her. She may yet be declared a saint.
Just what this world needs. Another saint.
And here we see the Sisters of Battle Faith in full force, just before they were ready to kill this poor woman, to make her a martyr. But not out of malice or hatred, they thought that they were genuinely doing a good thing, that the sheer presence of chaos will corrupt them. So, to save their immortal souls, they must kill their mortal flesh. But in the same vein, in the same breath, but hell, in the same goddamn conversation, the same person who suddenly meets the Custodians is now a living saint. Does it make sense? No. It's devoid of logic and reason, but in accordance to emotion and the faith that they presume, it is perfect. They are absolutely insane. The Sisters of Battle are indeed the most evil faction in all of the Imperium for the sole fact they are truly devoid of any logic and reason. When you consider the God, when you consider Space Marines, when you consider the Inquisition, there is always some type of cold logic at their very core. It guides their actions. You can sort of predict it, but with the Sororitas, it's completely different. The Sisters do what they believe is the will of the Emperor, and the will of the Emperor is whatever fancy the Ecclesiarchy has. There is no rhyme, there is no reason. They do whatever, however, whenever they want. And all you have to do is simply stand there and wonder in stunned awe silence, just what the fuck did these chicks smoke? Meaning that sadism, rage, anger, anything, how evil it may be, it doesn't matter. And I haven't even mentioned the archoflagellants, aka criminals. What type of criminals? Any crime. Didn't pray enough to the Emperor? Cool, we're gonna lobotomize you and turn you into a raging berserker machine. Not to mention the pain engines, a la mortifactors. You have betrayed the Emperor. So cool, we're gonna lock you up into a machine that causes you to become insane and be a living weapon of war. And then there's the armored coffin variants. The occupant, who normally is a sister, mind you, is filled with pain unimaginable, driven to them to a point where they have to die in battle to earn redemption. But there's several thick layers with a fucking adamantine in front of that. It does not matter who, doesn't matter when, doesn't matter why. The most evil, despicable, foul thing you can imagine. If the Ecclesiarchy says that this is the Emperor's will, the Sisters will find some type of reason to justify it. And I mean anything. Massacring civilians, killing orphans, burning people alive, torturing people, anything. They will justify it. And what's worse is that this is true corruption. Because every single one of those sisters has been brainwashed into thinking that they're doing the right thing, the holy thing. That is the worst part about it. And that is what makes it truly evil. It is betrayal in every single facet and form. But that's the first thing that people get wrong about the Adeptus Sororitas. There is a stark difference between the non-militant orders and, of course, the militant orders. The militant orders being fucking bat-shit, psychotic, fanatical zealots. But I mentioned at the start that there were two things. The first thing, we just discussed. But as for the second thing, that's the fact that they're all fucking ugly. Generally speaking, fan artists especially love Dragoon over sisters. Which, you know what, to each their own. Me personally prefer mild up, simple as, but hey, you do you. So, generally speaking, most fan art has them looking goddamn pretty. And GW is kind of also to blame for this. Some artwork, particularly in the earlier stages, a la Repentia, good lord old Repentia art, has the sisters very, very, very pretty looking. But if you describe them, if you look into them, if you read them from their lore, particularly those of the Valorous Heart, they are fucking ugly. They are Templars, they are warriors, they are scarred, burnt, bitten, pitted, whipped, self-flagellated, they are fucked up. And this misrepresentation is part of the reason why people don't understand how evil they are. If you see a bunch of pretty nuns with guns, clean armor, pretty faces, white hair, oh look, they look all cute and nice and awesome, you're not gonna think they're the most evil faction in the Imperium. But if you look at them what they're supposed to be, grotesque, crude, people who don't care for themselves. They don't care for themselves. Hell, they sleep on stone, they eat bread and fucking water. They don't care about anything else other than following the Emperor's will. What is the Emperor's will? Whatever the Ecclesiarchy says. They neglect themselves, they neglect everything that is physical for the sole fact they believe that all that matters is the soul. They are scarred, wretched, and foul. Their actions are terrible and evil. They are the exact opposite to the non-militant orders. If you want a pretty nun, sure, Ordo Hospitaller, but they are not the Sisters of Battle. The Sisters of Battle are grim, dark, evil. They are foul, macabre manufactorums created by an industry that has taken faith and turned it evil. They only care about one thing and one thing alone. That is fulfilling the will of their overlords, and their overlords care not for them. It doesn't matter how bruised, broken, battered, and shattered they are, being mind, body, or flesh. So long as their faith holds, so long as their faith allows them to do what needs to be done, that's all. Anything else? Too bad. You're angry, you're upset, you're sad, you're depressed. Doesn't matter. Faith is all. What? You don't have enough faith? Here, let me flagellate you. Let me put you in a pain engine. Oh, become a repenter then. Still not? Right, I guess I'll just fucking execute you then. That is what they are. Grim, evil, foul. When I said they're the worst demons of humanity, I meant it. Because the thing about the Dark Elder or Sinesh is that they're purely 40k themed. They cannot exist out of 40k. But in our own real-life world, there are people who have been taken, mutated, mutilated, abused, and have had their faith brainwash them to the point where they are willing to torture and destroy their fellow human beings. That is the Adeptus Sororitas made manifest. That is the Sisters of Battle made manifest. Terrible, wretched, and evil. And it is a tragedy, but they were created by an evil man, and today they are still used by evil men. Yet, with the recent appointment of Morgan Val, she's making a lot of changes. So, hopefully we'll see them a little bit more sane, but when it comes to a question of logic and faith, one has to go. And when your whole world is built on the unreasonable concept of blind faith, what happens when someone tries to change that? But that's a story for another day. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. Let me know down below what do you guys think. For me, those were the two major misconceptions that people have, because generally speaking, in most 40k art, like official 40k art, the sisters look pretty. In some more recent ones, they're looking a bit more fucked up, which, you know, I appreciate. But even then, they're supposed to be like living masses of like scars and shit. They're fugly. They're fugly. Like, you see a sister, you're fucking shitting bricks. It's not, ooh, sexy nun. It's like, oh my god, this nun is gonna fucking kill me. But I want to say massive thank you to you guys for watching, and even more massive thank you to awesome members and Patreons. Massive shout out to my Lieutenant tier members, Mr. Curtis Studies, Mr. Eddie B3, and Miss Majora the Void. Massive shout out to the good old NCOs of the Sergeants, with Mr. Damiak, Mr. Andy McGee, Mr. Mooresmith.Fireheart, Mr. Sean IRL7, Mr. Bullwin, and Mr. Matthew Merrill. Big shout out to my corporal tier members, with Mr. Tremeo the Math Kitty, Mr. Lord Rosarius, Miss Shauna Smithers, Mr. Tech Priest Toaster, Mr. Gentle Salamander, Mr. Rambling Hamster, and the Wench of Warhammer. And finally, but certainly not least, the awesome privateer, with Mr. Thomas Oslons, Mr. Ivan_SBW, Mr. Michael Aeda, Mr. Monkey Man, Mr. Diego Castro, Mr. CMD Neo, Mr. Fortress Unum, Mr. Dalmaric, Eric Massaro, and Mr. Weaselhack. Thank you. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Sign up to our memberships, get a bunch of awesome benefits, behind the scenes stuff, early access videos, as well as some member only content. But remember, the source be free. So whether you give your boy $1 or not, I would love you just the same. Mwah! But ladies and gentlemen, I've been the General Bradley 101. You've been beautiful, awesome, and amazing people. Thank you so very much for watching. Y'all must shades say loyal there, boys and gals. And I will catch y'all next time. Dismiss Rages. It's so wild to me, bro, that Gauche was such a gooner. He specifically recruited the sisters, and specifically said no chastity, because it is the Emperor's will that I get laid. Homie literally dropped that line and they believed him. Forget King Reddit, homie is Lord Imperator Reddit Supreme Chungus boy. Good god.